Hi everyone, and welcome back to our Interrailing adventure. This is part 3 of our trip. If you've missed the first 2 parts where we travelled to Amsterdam by ferry and then explored Groningen, you'll find the playlist linked in the description below. So we arrived in Bremen at about 5:15 in the afternoon and we headed straight to our accommodation. So we walked through this beautiful park and we soon found ourselves heading into the Schnoor quarter. The Schnoor quarter is the oldest district in Bremen. As we got closer, we noticed that the architecture had started to change. So we headed down this street and we actually passed a little Christmas shop. It was early September, but it looks like maybe the Christmas shop stays open all year round. So we turned right onto this tiny little street which was lined with gorgeous old houses. And then we found where we were looking for. The smallest house in Germany and our home for the next 2 nights. We'd read in reviews that this little house was actually a local attraction and there was some information on the windows about the house, and we did actually find that when we arrived there were a few people stood outside reading the information and having a little look. What we didn't actually expect was that tour guides would bring their full groups to see the house, which they did, but we didn't mind because it made it feel all the more special that we were staying here, and I enjoyed saying hello to everyone that was visiting. So once we were inside, we could choose to close the curtains and blinds if we needed to, and this lovely little house really did have everything that we needed. The design was really clever. There were loads of space-saving details and it was really lovely decor. There was a little kitchen with a kettle and even some cupboards with board games and a little folding step tucked inside. This was the shower area and there was a little sign at the bottom of the tiles explaining that they were actually made from the leftover rubble from when the house was renovated. Even the bathroom managed to fit in a small cupboard and a shelf. So you might be wondering where the bed was. Well, this little coffee table and chairs folded away, and hidden behind the panels was our bed. There was even a little cupboard here where we stored some of our smaller items. We actually only discovered on the very last day when we were leaving that that little grey cupboard with the red handle at the back there near the foot of the bed, we think had a fridge in it. So it really did have everything that we needed. All of the bedding was stored up here, so I needed to use the little stool to reach it, and I also needed the little stool to climb up this ladder to the roof terrace. I was a little bit nervous to go up the ladder at first, and if you ever stay here please don't copy us, because I think we probably should have been wearing shoes at this point. Up on the terrace, it was beautiful. As someone who loves miniature model making, I absolutely loved looking out over the rooftops, the chimneys, the old brickwork, where the ivy had been growing up the wall. It gave me loads of inspiration for things that I want to add to the outside of my doll's house. And we were nestled among the trees with the first autumn leaves starting to fall, and it felt like something out of a fairy tale. We popped to the shop for a few bits and bobs and we folded out the little coffee table and had a lovely cosy tea. And at night time we could even see the stars through the skylight. It was such a magical experience. The next morning we headed out to explore Bremen, and we started by walking to an area called das Viertel, just a short walk from the city centre. It was full of colourful independent shops, cafes and restaurants, and we really enjoyed browsing. There were some great little finds. we walked back through a park towards the centre, and we were on the hunt for a food hall that we'd read about. We actually came across this building first, and at first we thought that it was the food hall, but actually we think it might have been a library with some little areas to eat at the bottom. It was an incredible building. So we carried on walking, and eventually we found what we thought was the entrance to the food hall, but we're not sure if this was the main entrance or if there was another one. Inside the food hall, the atmosphere was really good. It was busy, it was welcoming, it was full of delicious food stalls. After lunch, we made our way to this little area, which was actually a hidden street packed with unique architecture, galleries, shops and museums. But we'd actually travelled to this street for one thing in particular, and that was the Glockenspiels house, which is a magical building with 30 bells that chime at set times throughout the day. And as the music plays, the building actually moves. So there are 10 wooden panels that are carved with pictures that actually rotate along to the music. And it was so unique. It's something that we've never experienced before, and we're so glad we didn't miss it. Next we explored the Schnoor quarter, and even though we'd been staying here, we hadn't yet had a chance to have a little wander around the streets. And it actually reminded me of York in England, because it had lots of medieval buildings, cobbled lanes, tiny little shops and restaurants. It was really lovely. For anyone who's new to my channel, I normally post videos about the miniatures that I make, so I particularly liked this window display. All of these little miniature scenes were made out of cardboard, I think, so it was a really interesting shop. And I also loved the tiny little teddy bears in this window display. I'm actually planning on making a little miniature to represent each part of our journey. So if you have an idea of what miniature I could make to represent our trip to Bremen, please do let me know in the comments. This window display caught my attention as well because it had a doll's house in one corner and it also had a sleeping cat in the other corner. We then walked towards where we thought there might be a river, and we had a little stroll along the riverside before making our way back through the city. Whilst walking back through the city, we came across one of Bremen's famous landmarks, the Bremen Town Musicians statue. It's based on the fairy tale by Brothers Grimm, and it shows a donkey, a dog, a cat, a rooster, all stacked on top of each other. Apparently, if you touch the donkey's front legs, it brings you good luck. After a long day of exploring, we headed back to our accommodation and we ate all of the food that was left from the previous night for our tea, and it was the perfect cosy way to end the day. The next morning it was time to pack everything away and move on to our next destination. So we made our way back to the train station where we'd be catching the train to Hamburg. I'm really excited to show you everything that we did there. It was such a fun part of the trip. So I will be showing you that in the next video. And if you've been enjoying following along with our Interrailing adventure so far, please don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to all so that you don't miss the next stop. As I mentioned before, normally on this channel I share videos about miniatures, so please do let me know if you can think of any miniatures I should make that represent our trip to Bremen or any other parts of our trip as well. I could make a miniature to go onto the shelves in my doll's house apartment, or I could make a miniature painting to go onto the walls of the art gallery in the space below the apartment. So please do let me know because I love hearing all of your ideas. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you've enjoyed the video and I'll see you next time.